Kaya bangay ba chuan yan? Irugun talam madaran. Mecha but. Jangan rem mecha poto ko talam jangan lora talam. Ito baru jangan chuan jangan bo mecha ban bo poto ko ngayon na chol. Tiyan na yun na naroon no.
2017. For the last week, we had been getting ready for the Day of Lover. Stores had been selling silk flowers and chocolates. Little boys were gathering confidence to ask their first Valentine, and girls were picking out their favorite dresses to wear. While everyone was busy preparing for this special day, we were not preparing for the threat that was closing in. The storm was a little bigger than we expected. It damaged some homes and businesses, destroyed some water catchments, and caused a crack in the reservoir. But only a few people were hurt. No one died. We considered ourselves lucky. We didn't know that this was only the beginning. It was 2 weeks before anyone started to realize what was happening. We were used to experiencing water hours, but now they were just getting shorter and shorter. 3 days a week of water became 1, then 8 hours a day was cut to 4. That's when it hit us. People were already beginning to get sick. As public water became less available, they started drinking from their wells that had been contaminated over the years with human and pig waste, chemicals, and even dead bodies. It was not drinkable. It started as a rumor, but there it was. Headlines on newspapers. The reservoirs were dry. I was a little afraid at first. We all were. But then I remembered that thing they call the LoRa lens, that spot underground where we could pump all the fresh water we needed. We would be fine. I was wrong. The lens, the only freshwater source on Majuro, had been contaminated and sucked dry just like everywhere else. As a state of emergency was declared, help began to arrive from abroad. Desalination plants were set up. Water was even brought in tanker ships from overseas, but it wasn't enough to provide for 30,000 people.
Kalau malau je ni, rot ngai baik kalau malau je ngai. Tadi miluku na abang junian, cicu juat kalau ni nai baik je ni mu. Ajariran ni je mu cipu mu rangaru. Agai baru itu ngar baik je ni mu berkaci tu keren. Ini menu bina Allah mana kagin. Iu jangan ni jarum cipu je memori dulu terus.
The Republic of the Marshall Islands spans thousands of miles across the Central Pacific. 2 island chains of 29 coral atolls and 5 single-raised coral islands with an average height of 2 meters above sea level. 64,000 people live on a total landmass of about 180 square kilometers in some of the most beautiful but difficult conditions in the world. In Majuro, the largest city and capital of the Marshall Islands, these difficult conditions are becoming unthinkable hardships. In the last 10 years, the population has increased 15% to nearly 28,000, but the supply of clean drinking water has decreased.
Kalau lang army jilo majulin, rechidongan sandergen, ro ibai kap Majuro mana kap jowo. In melalui orang army jual Majuroin, ibai lang. Kalau lang army, kalau lang aru jual kejar bandar, manirap man,
Fragile freshwater lenses and rain are the only sources of life-giving water in the Marshall Islands.
Ilo sistem na yargi orod ho main source ko an. Chuan igdoyan lens go lens in Laura, water, then I will allow Laura and raw and gin run away after rainfall. Water and can get the reservoir. The little below 2 trout, all the garden
A water lens, like the Laura lens, forms as large coral islands develop. These underground reservoirs are filled when rain seeps through the porous limestone and rock. The lighter fresh water floats above the heavier seawater, creating a reserve. This reserve is constantly growing and shrinking as conditions change. The largest factor affecting the lens is how much water has been taken out.
You are running distribution with 1 million gallons we distribute per water day. Now imagine that one is only 30, like I said, was 38, maximum 30.
So 38 million gallons in the reservoir is only 38 days of water distribution. Desalinization and importing water are possible, but the costs make it unaffordable. A recent survey done by EPSO revealed that nearly 53% of all households on Majuro and Ibai do not have water available throughout the year.
Cuman naramunan fulfilling when satisfy everybody. Cuman lalak 24 hours, cuman lalak 7 days a week. Kaya limited that result.
The lack of sufficient water presents a constant challenge to the water company and also puts enormous strain on the Laura lens, which is sometimes the only source of safe drinking water.
Army roads, Elang, Pachuilo Tiudi, Alvire Pranot, Kajarwal Dramne, Alaptada, you know, made Drigan wood. Emechap Reno Dilo Tiudia, Chen Tiudi to Rairo, Ajaltavi, Waja, Empranot, Army Romero Chuguyo Mora. Can good morning, Edolagodan Jabber, Junian, it's all Kajitu and other garber.
A dry season may be the worst scenario. However, the signs of a damaged lens are already evident.
And we look at finalize that report and we really check out it's young to look at final report of my wife. You hear it. I'm yellow, original logo, original shrinking.
Can you pump all around? Elak, Mara, Ella pump. Yoga can you manage the road? Then when you know, Chol can put it.
And I think in some areas, some pumping wells have already been closed because of high salinity. So that's one example of over pumping. You know, the salinity level goes very high, and we have to stop or let the company know that they have to stop pumping that well.
Wells can even be depleted to the point of no return, as seen in other parts of Majuro. As we pump water out of the lens, it changes shape. If the amount we pump out of the lens is greater than the rainfall to replenish it, the lens will shrink. Areas that used to have fresh water become brackish, as salt water fills the void where fresh water used to be.
Recently, we stopped the pumping of the all pumping wells in Dallas because of the high salinity. They have reached the stage where they cannot pump anymore.
The Laura lens is the last fresh groundwater source in Majuro, and it is being threatened.
The end result will be, saltwater intrusion into the lens. That will be the end of the lens, the freshwater lens. You can't retrieve it back. Once that water is saturated with salt water, that's it. That will be the end of this fresh water.
Gila-gila kan colok. Saya dengan aramit, rawan kaman gijir mangai, rawan tudu, rawan kualur nunuk, ini labnang di meja wala dan Majuro.
With the LoRa lens under constant threat, the Global Environment Facility is running an integrated water resource management demonstration project focused on the sustainable management of the LoRa lens. The project will use practical demonstrations of best practices and will conduct a vulnerability assessment to identify which areas of the lens are most sensitive.
Cara balik penron kan meli mi ome yuro rar kameni miranne wajak menoin badi kari lo air to pam kami cep chala chede ren chede kalani yiro jala lo chuan ran poli ni jalam na meni ne ibu jadi karage jan juda kami dine ja ibu chala waya win an rijar parane an ren charabat kenduna ibu cici bangko ami boy ini reu jeme pejini peri kanan aga pon men gain ga juwo jirani aga meno ko mi cep cala wa winan reni rio jere lang mi to ta kena ibu jiga in cala jede rek pamai lo juoni.
In addition to overpumping, another potentially devastating threat is from human activity taking place on the surface.
At this time, I think the most obvious threat to the quality of the lens is the, unsanitary disposal of human waste, disposal of solid waste, organic waste, and some like oil. People just dump oil into the area, and below is just the ground, not very deep groundwater. So unregulated and not monitoring of these activities can really lead to the contamination or pollution of this groundwater.
Sekarang anak karabar kami di kuela ko elik tata ipen karabar cuan ipai cari lalakane wat kai cakar kacire ben karawar lukune atale kami gal gani lo cirin kaldi gana ka patalai jiga mi lo Remarong ke kok recar barot rec kokure ke awle ben cugu jugun perin ke ta.
Pai jiru go mere impa marmi puento air per kap chicken kallu go mere kajar wali jet chemical go mere marong par chabam manangane jur e manarmi tugul kulenar murum pep nejir menin mur alta da pik Why when gain chalo kachida ke kobi jigain re ilo chontere na jual lalongan pulan purit em logon par chontere to kalau rane kita agak pentran me mi kuju pagar mur jane
Elang chala kair cepti tem elang mujair pergi pada bana jagab charbal kiya alung kolam min gain raru to kon gain wot jane to.
Because the LoRa lens is so close to the surface, contaminants are easily introduced. Septic tanks, decaying bodies, and trash can seep into the drinking water supply. To better understand what is happening, surveys have been conducted in the past by various non-governmental agencies.
Elang regito chen lalgar labem ida me kada kan pulane ni nem ri oya do oya tanga baji kaman konono gon dalanin elang regito daga madalangan ay budianan edalo miaran akan chen nalele ta kere kaman kemi jai bujige bar nalele.
In recent years, there has also been a surge of agricultural activity in LoRa. This has led to concerns about contaminations from chemicals used in farming and piggeries, whose waste flows from the pig pens directly into the lens.
These are just the source of organic contaminant, they come from plants and animals, right? And when these animal plants decompose, that's what they're broken up into, the nitrites or the nitrates. These are the ones that are not good for human consumption, especially for the records of babies, the mothers that breastfeed their babies, they will be affected greatly, more than the adults. So they get that syndrome there, they call it the blue baby syndromes.
In addition to all these threats, is the looming uncertainty about the sort of impacts climate change may have on the Marshall Islands water supply. Longer droughts and sea level rise will push the freshwater lens to the limit. With so many threats to Majuro's water supply, who is responsible for monitoring the water level? Contamination, salinity. Who is responsible for the lifeblood of Majuro?
Presently, there is no one land ministry in government that is responsible for water per se. During a national disaster, the Office of the Chief Secretary acts as the focal point for water issues.
Responsibility begins with policy. So what is RMI's policy?
There is no national water policy in place at the moment.
Generally, and at the global scale, water is a renewable resource. However, clean water at the local scale is a finite resource. It is essential for life, health, sanitation, and the well-beings of humans. In November of 2002, the United Nations Committee on Economic, Social, and Cultural Rights noted that the human right to water is indispensable for leading a life in human dignity. It is a prerequisite for the realization of other human rights.
Wajamallo kajabarwa giya, pungdoro kome jamarang komani mera jabupin, manar jabarot ipendronem, wore chipil, pen entabarak katabarin manar kajabarwa rani.
Kian meno kami barai bicara cederan rejpagilo cuani dengan pakia ejino chol, hai bijilalaga rejino chol, ejino kaini kana kaya no de oru kotagi, kalang ejring ring nijilem kaini, eno de kam kanan chala ya de kaya jatala main ring.
Ewan wajan kajabarwa rani, kajarwali lo cuman wawan ame, ajuriro nijir, cikur orang bat rutom.
There have been attempts to manage and support the lens, but in the absence of a national policy, follow-through has been lacking.
Rich Kanekalaga Lamu Bibil, I tell the right Kalu. A chain or Andean Kubis, wrong, another talk, take your canal. You may go wrong, I will tell the right Kalu. Another chain or another canary artist Canadian Kubis. A tibble Kubis in Tigan, who can make canal.
I think that's an impetus for us to work harder to make sure that our people receive that fundamental human right. It is not just a human right, but it's really a matter of life and death to a lot of people. A lot of kids and babies especially die because the water that they are using is not clean enough. It is unfortunate that we continue to see it in today's world, and I don't think that's right.
I but number in I thought you are I will lower it would mean out. It would mean I will. I have the joint vacuum truck and Kajibaro over a year all minute now safety permit over a bit of water.
Steps to develop a national water policy are being supported through a European Union funded integrated water resources management project. It is a process that will involve all stakeholders. The LoRa community has been taking steps towards protecting this precious resource. The community has expressed interest in working with the GEM IWRM demonstration project and others to identify techniques to better manage piggery and septic waste.
Ngan kajabarwe kami yang kami di ni meroroj peri lolorain kami dun kajabarwe kaciong pangan aram jige recabai ku jen or congan air ke pencap tabadren
eno to man de gina arwaj mantin arwaj lale ronam tagaron yago ren nido raini nim ilijum chagala jenche bogotam jon wa wono mene komman menin arwaj aidur EPA garkaciong lale won boy ay bujana yalap ay bujalang na yalap ilo lorain marong perilo chon wa wono me enet tilijek
kacida be wain nge kundarong lolo jagin kamagaji be nge reo chugujugun peri ni nemenaj reo alim mingain mer perilo pugonin lorain.
If successful, the demonstration project could reduce threats to the quality and quantity of the groundwater available for the greater Majuro community and LoRa village. The project is also working towards developing a LoRa integrated water and land resource management plan, which will ultimately feed into the critical national water policy.
Local government rago an kieno ka NGO ak kachuju army elawata magay elabijo ko na ngan war tugot klen ber union and safe.
But it is best to have the water policy in place so that everybody can benefit, not only the landowners but also the people who are benefiting from that water.
Now is the time for a national water policy, conservation efforts, and community awareness. The LoRa lens, our last source of reliable fresh water, is being compromised. Once it is gone, it can never be replaced.
Yes, it's very important that both community and the government work together to preserve that resource, because this is the resource that the entire population of Majuro is counting on for survival.
Let us all make the source of life in Majuro a priority.
Morada ina jirongom Genwa we na